talent to run a professional company was very difficult, and it's now taken us, more than, I would say, 13 years almost to get to a level of professional management. So today we have, you know, a group CEO who's, headed Colgate earlier. We have, the best people from IT. We have one of our, CIOs over here, who handles digital marketing, and he's worked in South Korea for a long time. So we are able today to attract the best talent from all over the world into the company, but that was really a huge challenge. It's not something that is very easy to replicate, especially in a professional company. We then had the first mover disadvantage. People say that there's always a first mover advantage, but in homeopathy, because there was a new segment which was not very established, therefore protocols, systems, processes were not predefined earlier, and there was no path to follow, so you had to create your own path. Now there is always very difficult challenge, and what really happened was you created the path and then other people copied you, and then they brought out, kind of low version, low cost models of your business, and then pose threats as competitors. So in a way, we reached a very kind of odd situation at some stage where we were the challenger because we were challenging modern medicine, which was the number one established medicine in the country, and then we also became challenged. So we were the challenger and the challenge. So we're right in between. So it's not an easy position to be in actually. Training of doctors is another, huge problem that we faced. Ultimately, we believe that we are a knowledge company, and so we have to share knowledge with others. And when you share knowledge with others, you always have ambitious doctors who want to branch out and do their own thing, and they think they've learned a lot. So that's always been a challenge, and we faced it, very confidently and very well. When you are in retail health, one of the biggest challenges you have is of rentals. With property prices going up in India the way it is, there's really been no downswing. They get steady, especially in tier 1, tier 2 towns. Your margins come down over a period of time, and so to manage that is again a challenge. I think Kanwal has already spoken on marketing, but I want to talk about it and brand building just a little bit. And I think I want to give an example today of the amount of money that people spend on marketing. And want to give an example of a Bollywood movie because that's really an example which everybody can relate with today. A film which has a 10 crore budget and no stars today spends 7 to 8 crores on marketing. That means 80% of the expenditure goes in marketing. A film with stars spends with a 50 to 100 crore budget, spends almost 30% on marketing. I give you an example. Dabangg, which was a blockbuster, the movie budget was 30 crores, the marketing budget was 12 crores. That's 40% of the total budget. And I think as digital spaces, advertising, print, television, media, with the new regulation that you're getting now, that you're only allowed so many ads in between programs, the cost of advertising and marketing is going to become much more in the near future. And I think that's going to be a challenge for any product which is going to be an OTC product or a mass product, because your margins will keep coming down all the time. Ultimately, I think one has to build a brand in whatever one is doing. The best example that comes to me outside the healthcare company is the Amul brand. I think you always find that over a period of time, very consistently built over so many years. You can find it in print media, you can find it in hoardings, and it's something which hits you and something that you laugh with, but it's something that still has an impact. I think over the last 13 years, we have been able to build the Dr. Batra's brand. And because of building that brand, it has now allowed us to do brand extensions very easily. So we have now a Dr. Batra's Healthcare, and then we have Dr. Batra's Homeopathy, which is our main concern. Still 80% of our revenue comes from the Homeopathy brand. We today have 130 plus clinics in 3 countries. We then have an Aesthetic Solutions brand, which is a new venture which is nothing to do with homeopathy. We are actually running 7 operation theaters with daycare surgeries where we have plastic surgeons who do hair transplants and surgical and non-surgical methods of cosmetic surgery. We then have a product company which now has entered modern trade. We are presently in 300 outlets in South India. We are also exporting to Dubai, and we hope to be in about 1,000 outlets in the Gulf in the next few months. We have a foundation which caters to, you know, the less fortunate, and I'm going to talk about it a little later. We have a media house which we just launched. Satya has already spoken about it, a homeopathic magazine, because we want to build the segment. We believe that there are 100 million people in India who believe in homeopathy, and we want to reach out to them and we want to provide them with some intellectual thought on how they could take homeopathy further. We are also launching on the 21st of January next month Dr. Batra's Pet Care, which is going to be India's first animal hospital, which is also going to use homeopathy for animals. And then, of course, after we crossed 100 clinics, we today have 15 clinics which are franchised, and we have already signed up with 30 franchisees, and we also have an academy which is only for internal purposes, which only trains doctors. So I think once you build a brand over a period of time, that's really the challenge I think that any healthcare company has. The next challenge is really the scalability challenge. I mean, once you build a brand, how do you scale it up? And how do you make sure there's no brand erosion at different levels, you know, and especially on the ground? So one way to do that is to achieve standardization. And I think for us, we try to achieve standardization in infrastructure. So the idea is that, you know, all clinics look exactly alike and they function alike in different manners. And you can see here that whether it's a clinic in Hyderabad or Faridabad or Nariman Point or a Dubai clinic, they all look exactly alike and they offer the same services. So that's one way of, you know, standardizing clinics. The second is services, which is not very easy because it's person dependent, but a lot of this can be done through selecting the right people and to having a very extensive training program to train them. The third is medicines. We have make sure that we have only one source of medicine. We have a collaboration with a Swiss company, and we only buy medicines from them. We don't allow any local doctor to buy local medicines. So all medicines are sent from Switzerland. They are imported into India. They are repacked here through another manufacturing house, which is a sister company, and from that then it is, you know, sent all over the country. We make sure that all the medicines that we have are in glass bottles because glass is neutral, so it does not affect the medicines. It is colored glass bottle, which is a little more expensive, again because it you know, color retains the you know, against sunlight, the value of the medicine, it doesn't go down. And then these are all auto sealed, and the seal is only broken in front of the patient in the pharmacy. So you actually have very standardized you know, quality of medicines. Treatment standardization is really very difficult again, but again it comes from a very large CME program from international doctors coming and training our doctors. You know, we have at least 500 hours of continued medical education in our clinics, which means that for 3 months in a year the doctor is not in the clinic, he's learning something new. And I believe that medicine changes so fast that if you are not able to keep up with it, sometimes the patient knows more than what you know, because he's only focused on that one small disease and we have to study everything. So that's an ongoing process, and we have a very good system in place which makes sure that that happens. To scale up again, we need to have processes and systems, and I think it's taken us almost, you know, 10 years to actually build an ERP in the company, where all our clinics are, you know, now IT networked. They are live, so you can get a live data from any clinic anywhere in the world, and you can actually see which patient is walking in and what is his history. This is just a patient flow chart just to show you exactly what happens when a patient enters in a particular branch and what he goes through. Similarly, there are systems that we've established. We run 4 service centers across 4 cities. We have about 120 people who man these service centers. So anybody who goes onto the internet, for example, this is an, you know, of how the turnaround time from a person getting onto the net, chatting with the doctor for a problem, and then asking for an appointment. I mean, it took exactly 10 minutes. So, you know, you can actually go to the website and you can, so the process is that if you want, you can chat with the doctor and you can actually walk into a clinic very soon and get yourself an appointment. Again, I think we've invested a lot in technology and in innovation. I think we were the first, certainly in India and among the first in the world, to introduce electronic medical records. We introduced electronic medical records in 1982. So we have a data of about 1 million patients since that day till today, with all the disease that they've suffered, all with all their prescriptions, how many visits they've had, and so on and so forth. So all of this gets centrally recorded, and we can pull it out anytime we like. In 1982, we were the first company in India to start blister packing of homeopathic medicines and dispense it to our patients like this, which was also an innovation at that time. It still continues. We started mHealth a few years ago, and patients can actually log in on their high-end mobile phones and ask for treatment and help and appointments through this. Maybe you can't see it, but you can chat with the doctor again on your mobile phone. You can ask for an appointment, and you can ask for any query by email, and you can request for a courier. And if you're asking for a courier, then you'll get the POD of the courier number on your mobile phone. So these are again all innovations basically for patient compliance. We believe that one of the biggest challenges of the medical field, and I think any doctor will tell you that, and any pharma person will tell you that, is patient compliance. I mean, today patients are not compliant. They even pay you money upfront, but they don't continue the treatment for the entire time. And this is really because they think we are already okay. I'm asymptomatic, therefore why should I take treatment? And they get they're so driven by their work. They don't really tend to concentrate on health. And health in India today still is governed rather than being self-governed. So it still needs a doctor to govern the health rather than a person saying that I'm going to take care of my health and therefore I'm going to be all right. We started, teleconferencing also many years ago, and this also helps us in difficult cases to network. This was a patient of Wolcott-Alron syndrome, which is a very rare syndrome. And just to give you an example, 1 in 2.5 lakh people suffer from it, children. And for that, you had a skin problem, you had a pediatrician, you had an MD physician, we had a chest physician, we had a nutritionist, and we had stereohomeopaths. And all of them kind of spoke to each other through teleconferencing, and the patient was in Hyderabad, and we were able to give him the right prescription and the right diagnosis for his problem. I think our technology also helps us to get operational excellence. You can see over here, basically it is showing you all the appointment slots. It is showing you how many people are waiting at a given time. Now this can be logged in through a central system on a mobile phone, and anywhere I'm traveling, I know who's waiting for how long. And then there's a team which actually will call people and say that why don't you just hurry up, or why don't you make sure that you schedule your appointments properly. And this is another study which will actually show you which are the peak times when patients come to and which are the empty times. So you can see over here, for example, that morning times are not very busy, and evening times and weekends are absolutely packed, and doubly packed. So it helps us then to again get operational efficiency. It also you can actually also measure through this how much time a doctor spends with the patient. So we have a standard, say 20 minutes for an old patient, and we've got a 45 minutes for a new patient. So if a doctor does not do that, then we pull him up, and this is being continuously monitored. So that's why I'm saying that if you want to scale up your healthcare business, then you have to have proper process systems. I mean, this is just some examples I'm giving you. Again, one of the biggest challenges that I had, I attended a course in Harvard on medical excellence, and one of the biggest challenges that we all had, top doctors and people who run hospitals from across the world, was that it's very difficult to measure outcomes of treatment. And one of the biggest challenges to measure patient outcomes scientifically. So for the last 3 years, we've been developing some programs and we've been developing some research through our own doctors as well as some foreign doctors. And in some of the disease areas, we have kind of developed some technology which actually helps us, which we are exclusively using only in our clinics to measure patient outcomes of the kind of treatments that we do. For example, we were the first in the country a few years ago, again about 7-8 years ago, to use a video microscope. This actually not only diagnoses the kind of hair loss that you have, but it can tell you how much of thin hair and fine hair and how much of thick hair you have. And it can actually predict 5 years before whether you're going to get diabetes or whether you're going to get a hair loss problem, whether you're going to go bald. And you can also measure it then again, the success of the treatment as well through this machine. So it's a very scientific way. Similarly, we are now getting into a respiratory and allergy segment. This is earlier what we had. So we're now getting into electronic spirometry. So what happens is, if you are an asthmatic patient, it's not important that you don't get asthma, but your breathing capacity has to be improved. Now, how do you measure breathing capacity? You measure it through a machine, which then gives you the graph. So because you may not be asthmatic, but if you walk fast, if you climb up the stairs, you can still get breathless. So to measure that you're really okay, not just asymptomatic or without symptoms, we have imported these machines and we are putting them in all our clinics, which will actually give you a graph. So when you have a steady graph, then you know that you're cured, not otherwise. Until that time, you have to have patient compliance and you have to continue your treatment. Not just because you're not got an attack for 2 months or 3 months. This is another latest thing that we've done. This is, a European technology. We bought 3D cameras for the first time in India. This helps us to diagnose skin problems, particularly things like vitiligo, or what you commonly known as leukoderma. You can see over here, for example, that what is the melanin level, and you can take a photograph, and the photograph takes a 3D picture of the skin, and subcutaneously it gets under the skin, and you can actually see it. So that helps you to see, and it actually measures then the pigment that gives you pigmentation, which is melanin. So you can see over here that before treatment and after treatment, what is the variation in the melanin. You can actually measure it, and this measurement happens 3 months before the spots start showing on the skin. I'll show you another slide to show you like this. So you can actually see, if you see finally, you see that the spots have already started appearing. So you know that your treatment is on the right track, and you know that you're doing the right thing. So, and like this, we are working on lots of other things with European scientists, with presidents of the Trichology Society in UK, with presidents of the Dermatology Society in Europe, and we are working out new methods of treatment and new methods of diagnosis on a regular basis. A lot of it is work in progress, but this is what we have achieved so far. Again, we pioneered the use of internet. In 1996, we set up the first cyber clinic when it was not even thought of at that time. I was traveling with Shekhar Kapoor, who's an internet buff, and he said that, why don't you start cyber clinic? It's a nice way to reach out to people. And I said, all right, let me try it. And then so we got some engineers from Singapore, and we got them to develop it for us. I think going forward, the vision is there are a lot of businesses going to be done on the net. And I think even healthcare is going to move from the brick and mortar that we have today to an electronic model. We've treated patients from 86 countries in the world, and homeopathy is legalized only in 80 countries of the world. We've been in the Limca Book of Records for 2 years continuously for having treated the largest number of patients, 4.5 lakh patients we treated online. So you can imagine the kind of response that you can get through this medium. We are today the #1 website in homeopathy in the world. We were #2 last year, and we've now worked towards it to become #1. This is the kind of traffic that we get for the last few months. So through a direct traffic, that means people who come to us with the brand name, saying that we are looking for Dr. Batra. How many come looking through a campaign that we do? We spend a lot of money on digital, advertising through banners and other things. We have an organic traffic which we are looking at improving hugely. And I think in all of this digital also ORM is very, very important. So I think your reputation management is so easy to slash today. And I think if any healthcare company is not careful about it, at some stage you will erode the brand completely. So we have a very strong team which now starts monitoring that, and that's another story, so I'm not going to get into it. But I'm saying the whole digital media today is a very effective media for healthcare, and this is going to be the future. Similarly, these are the number of referrals that we get on the net, and these are the total number of visits that we get. I think one big challenge that we have is that when you multiply, how do you remain customer centric, and how do you track and record customer satisfaction and respond to it? I think we moved from customer satisfaction to customer delight to customer advocacy. I mean, today we believe there's nothing like customer satisfaction. In the sense, the only thing that works is customer advocacy. I mean, if today somebody puts a